Ladies and gentlemen, you know, we live in a world today where people are real good at talking. They talk about what they believe in. They post quotes on social media. They hashtag about kindness. They say, bless you, and I'll pray for you, and walk right past people who are hurting. But let me tell you something. Talk is cheap. It really is. Anybody can say anything, but the question is, are you living it? I don't care how many times you tell people you're a good person. I don't care if you carry a Bible under your arm or wear a cross around your neck. What I want to know is, how are you treating the waitress who messed up your order? What do your kids see when you come home tired and cranky after a long day at work? What kind of person are you when you think no one's looking? Because that right there, that's the real you. See, values aren't just something you write down in a journal or post on a vision board. Values aren't something you announce in a meeting or slap on your company's wall. Values are something you live. And when you live them consistently, they start to speak louder than any speech you could ever give. I remember a time when I thought I was a pretty patient person. You know, I'd tell people, oh yes, I'm very patient. I just go with the flow. But the truth came out in traffic, Lord have mercy. Someone would cut me off and all that so-called patience out the window. That's when I realized I don't have patience until I show it when it's hard. You don't know if you're walking in love until you've had to love someone who's been ugly to you. You don't know if you're truly generous until you've given when it was uncomfortable. You don't know if you're kind until you've had to be kind in the face of rudeness. It's easy to love when everybody loves you. It's easy to be kind when people are treating you like royalty. But can you love the one who hurt you? Can you be kind when they roll their eyes at you? That's when your real values come out. Some people walk around quoting scriptures like they're walking concordances, but they can't forgive their neighbor. They know every verse on peace, but they're constantly stirring up drama. Honey, let me tell you, if you have to tell people how spiritual you are, something's missing. When you live it, they'll know it. They'll see it. They'll feel it. And you won't have to say a word. I'm telling you today, we need more doers and fewer talkers. We need people who are willing to be the light, not just talk about it. If you believe in honesty, be honest when it costs you. If you believe in grace, extend it when it's least deserved. If you say you stand for peace, stop fueling the fire in every conversation. And let me say this, your values are most powerful not in public but in private. It's not about how you act on stage, it's about how you act behind closed doors. God sees it. People might not, but God does. And guess what? Sooner or later, it all comes out. The real you always rises to the surface. You might be able to fool people for a little while with your words, but you can't hide your actions forever. Who you are will echo louder than what you say. So ask yourself, what kind of echo am I leaving? When people look at your life, what message are they picking up without you even saying a word? You want to know what changes lives, what wins hearts, what builds real trust? It's not shouting your beliefs or defending your opinions. It's living in such a way that people say there's something different about them. It's walking through this world with a quiet strength, not needing to announce yourself everywhere you go. People don't need another sermon, they need an example. Now, I know that sounds bold, but it's the truth. We've got a world full of noise, words, opinions, advice, flying around everywhere like confetti. But what people are starving for is authenticity, something real, something that shows them, not tells them, what truth and grace and strength really look like. You can talk all day about how strong your faith is. You can quote scriptures from morning till night. But let me ask you this. What's your attitude like when you're under pressure? When something unexpected hits you like a freight train, do you panic or do you pray? Do you crumble or do you stand firm? See, the way you live, that's your real testimony. That's your real witness. People are watching how you treat the janitor just as much as how you speak to the boss. They're watching how you respond when you don't get your way, how you act when no one's praising you, how you behave when you're not center stage. And the thing is, most of the time, it's not the big dramatic moments that people remember. It's the little things. The way you show up on time, even when nobody else does. The way you encourage others when you're dealing with your own silent battles. The way you apologize when you're wrong. Even if it bruises your pride a little, that's what speaks volumes. That's what people notice. Let me tell you something. There are people in your life right now who may never step foot in a church. They might never pick up a Bible. They may not want to hear one more word about faith or grace or forgiveness, but they're watching you. They're watching how you carry yourself. They're watching how you parent, how you work, how you love, how you respond to stress. And in many cases, you are the sermon they're reading. Now, I'm not saying be perfect. None of us are. But I am saying be consistent. Be intentional, because the world doesn't need perfection. It needs authentic people who are willing to live what they say they believe. That's what creates impact. You might not have a microphone in your hand, but you have a platform. Your life is your platform. The way you live is preaching a message every single day. The question is, what's your message? Is it I believe in love, but you're constantly cold and distant? Is it I'm all about peace, but you stir up gossip at every chance? Is it I believe in grace, but you can't forgive that one person who hurt you 5 years ago? If the words from your mouth don't match the actions of your life, people stop listening. They tune out. It's like trying to listen to a song with the volume turned down and static playing over it. It just doesn't land. But when your life lines up with your words, when you practice what you preach, it's powerful, it's magnetic, it draws people in. Because truth, when lived out loud, has weight. It has credibility. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. And you know what else? When your life becomes the message, you don't have to fight so hard to defend yourself. You don't have to convince people that you're a good person. You don't have to explain your intentions every 5 minutes, because your character will speak for itself. The fruit of your life will do the talking. There's a kind of quiet strength that comes from integrity. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to sell it. You just live it. And people will feel it. They may not say anything, but they'll know. There's something different about that person. There's peace when they walk in the room. There's grace in how they speak. There's wisdom in how they handle stress. That kind of life doesn't need a stage. It creates its own. It becomes a light in dark places, a safe space in a noisy world. People are drawn to it not because of the words, but because of the way it feels to be around someone who actually lives what they say they believe. Anybody can say the right thing once in a while. Anybody can act sweet when they need something, show up when it's convenient, or say I'm sorry when they're caught. That doesn't impress me. You know what gets my attention? Consistency, daily, quiet, faithful consistency. That's where real strength lives. It's not hard to be kind for a moment. It's not even hard to show up for someone once or twice. What's hard is being kind when you're tired. What's hard is being patient when you've had a long day. What's hard is keeping your word even when it costs you something. That's character. And character doesn't show up occasionally, it shows up daily in small ways that most people never even see. Let me tell you, this world doesn't need more people who know how to say the right thing. It needs people who know how to live the right thing. Because here's the truth, words without character are just noise. You can talk about loyalty all day long, but if you're the first one to walk away when things get hard, what do your words mean? You can tell your spouse you love them, but if you're constantly cold, distracted, disrespectful, those words lose their weight. We've got too many people who want to speak with authority, but don't want to walk with accountability. They want to be seen as leaders, but they don't want to live like servants. They want respect, but they don't want to build trust. You can't have it both ways. Character isn't proven in a moment of applause. It's proven in seasons of pressure. You know, what reveals your real character? Not the mountaintop, not the spotlight, but the ordinary moments when no one's clapping, when you don't feel appreciated, when you're not feeling it, but you still choose to show up and do the right thing. That's integrity. And integrity isn't occasional, it's consistent. Let me give you an example. You don't become trustworthy because you once kept a secret. You become trustworthy because over and over again people have confided in you and you've protected them, even when it would have been easier to gossip. You don't become dependable because you once showed up early. You become dependable because people know if they need you, you're there. Not once, always. Consistency builds credibility. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. People might not notice when you're doing the right thing all the time, but they will definitely notice when you stop. They'll notice when you cut corners, when you start snapping at people, when you let your discipline slip, because consistency creates rhythm, and when that rhythm breaks, Everyone feels it. And let's just be real. None of us get it right 100% of the time. We all mess up. But consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about showing up even after you've fallen. It's about choosing to keep growing when it'd be easier to give up. That's the kind of character that doesn't just impress people, it inspires them. And can I say something here? We live in a world where image is everything. People are more focused on how things look than how they are. But character doesn't care about appearances. Character is more concerned with what's right than with what looks good. Character isn't always visible at first, but over time it tells the whole story. People might listen to your words once, but they'll watch your actions over and over again. If you tell your team you value honesty, but they see you manipulating the numbers to make yourself look better, they won't forget that. If you tell your kids to treat others with respect, but they see you yelling at the barista because your coffee was wrong, believe me, they'll remember. Because here's the truth, character is remembered long after words are forgotten. You can inspire someone with a great quote, but you'll change someone's life by being someone they can count on day in and day out. Not flashy, not perfect, just faithful, consistent, real. Some folks spend half their lives trying to explain themselves. I didn't mean it like that. Well, you have to understand where I'm coming from. I know it looked bad, but here's what I was trying to do. And listen, I get it. We all want to be understood. But there's a better way to live, a freer way. And it starts when you decide, I'm going to stop trying to explain who I am and just be who I am. You don't need to talk people into believing you're kind. Be kind. You don't have to convince people you're strong. Live strong. You don't need to defend your growth, your faith, or your journey to every person who questions it. Just walk it out. Let your fruit speak for itself. You know, I used to spend so much energy trying to get people to see my heart. I'd go out of my way to explain my motives. I'd say, well, I didn't mean to hurt you, or you got to understand I've been through a lot. And yes, there's a time and place for communication, but if you have to constantly explain who you are, it may be time to just live it louder. Because here's what I've learned. People believe patterns, not promises. They trust what they see over time, not what you say in the moment. You can say you've changed, but if you're still acting the same way when things get uncomfortable, people are going to believe that. You can talk about how much you've matured, but maturity doesn't show up in your vocabulary. It shows up in your reactions, your habits, your discipline. There's a difference between trying to prove yourself and just choosing to be yourself. One is exhausting, the other is powerful. When you stop trying to explain your intentions and just start living your convictions, you become steady, you become secure, you stop needing approval and start walking in purpose. Let's be real. Most people aren't even listening that closely to what you're saying, but they are watching how you carry yourself. They watch how you treat people who can't do anything for you. They notice whether your words match your walk. You can post about gratitude all day long, but if you walk around bitter, frustrated, and negative, nobody's buying it. You don't need to broadcast your growth. You don't need to shout, I'm not who I used to be. If you've truly changed, it'll show in the way you talk, in the way you respond, in the peace you carry. In the battles, you don't fight anymore. That's how you know the change is real. It starts showing up without you trying to force it. Being the example doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It just means you're committed to living what you say you believe. You're not trying to sell an image. You're not putting on a mask. You're letting your life speak. Not with hype, but with honesty. And don't be surprised if it bothers some people. There are folks who are comfortable with the old version of you. They liked it when you were insecure, when you stayed small, when you second-guessed yourself. And now that you've decided to rise, to live your values, to walk with a quiet confidence, suddenly they've got questions. Who do you think you are? Why don't you come around like you used to? You've changed. Yes, you have. And that's a good thing. But instead of explaining every little detail to them, just show them. Not to prove anything, but because it's who you are now. Walk in the new. Walk in freedom. Walk in truth. If they're meant to understand, they will, and if not, that's not your assignment. Trying to convince people of your worth, your growth, your goodness It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips out every time. But when you start living in a way that aligns with your values, when your life becomes the message, you don't have to chase approval anymore. You become someone who is anchored, not just admired. Someone who is consistent, not just impressive. Someone who is real, not just relatable. A lot of people mean well. They say the right things. They feel all the right emotions. They get stirred up during a sermon, get goosebumps during a worship song, maybe even cry a little, and then they go right back to living the same old way. They have good intentions, but no follow-through. Let me tell you something. Intentions don't change your life. Actions do. God doesn't move through wishful thinking. He moves through obedience. He works through steps of faith, not just thoughts of faith. He blesses movement, not just motivation. You can sit on your couch all day and say, I believe God has a great plan for me. But if you never get up, never take a step, never do your part, that plan will stay exactly where it is in your imagination. Faith without works is dead. That's what the Bible says, and it means what it says. You can't just think it, feel it, or hope for it. You've got to live it. And I'm not just talking about the big flashy actions. I'm talking about the daily obedience. Waking up when you don't feel like it and still choosing joy. Tithing even when your budget is tight. Loving that difficult person even when you feel like giving them a piece of your mind. Turning off the TV and spending time in the Word when your flesh wants to scroll social media. Those are the kinds of actions that activate the promises of God. Not dramatic but disciplined, not loud but loyal. You can pray for peace, but if you keep inviting chaos into your life, peace isn't going to magically fall from the sky. You can hope for a better marriage, but if you won't humble yourself, if you won't listen, if you won't forgive, hope won't fix it. You can ask God to bless your finances, but if you won't budget, if you won't sow, if you won't give, it's not going to fall into place just because you want it to. Intentions are good. They're a start, but they don't build anything on their own. You've got to get up and do the work. The Holy Spirit is not just a comforter. He's an empowerer. He doesn't come to sit with you in your mess so you can stay there. He comes to strengthen you so you can get up and move forward. Some of the most powerful people I've ever met aren't the ones with the biggest platforms or loudest voices. They're the ones who made a decision to be faithful in the small things. They don't talk about what they're going to do every 5 minutes. They just do it. They take action when it's not convenient. They show up when no one else does. They trust God enough to step out, even when they can't see the whole picture. You can have all the passion in the world, but if you don't put feet to your faith, that passion will wear off and turn into frustration. Passion without discipline becomes discouragement, because eventually you start to feel stuck and you wonder why God hasn't moved, but the truth is He was waiting on you to move first. The Israelites didn't cross the Red Sea until Moses stretched out his staff. They didn't conquer Jericho until they marched around the wall. The widow didn't get her miracle until she poured the oil. The man with the withered hand didn't get healed until he stretched it out. Over and over again, we see this principle. God moves when we move in obedience. You've got dreams, goals, prayers, but are you taking action? Are you willing to obey even when it's uncomfortable? Are you willing to take the step when you're not sure where it'll lead? Because that's where the power is. Not in wishing, but in walking. Not in thinking, but in doing. Not in saying, I trust God, but in living like you actually do. Faith shows up in your decisions, in your habits, in your responses. It's not just what you say on Sunday. It's what you do on Monday. It's not the prayers you pray when life feels heavy. It's the discipline you live out when life feels ordinary. Because that's where real growth happens. That's where real miracles begin. It's where God shows up and turns your small steps into supernatural outcomes.